Recently, 5 Spokane Valley City Council members returned from a National League of Cities conference. The keynote speech there was about sustainability. Again, taxpayer dollars going to the education and indoctrination of elected officials for the implementation of sustainability. Are your leaders in programs like this being trained to accept federal dollars for Agenda 21 implementation? Because that is how it works. Presently, the United States Senate is considering SB 1619, the quote, Livable Communities Act. Planning Department employees in Spokane Valley are right on top of the latest sustainable scam. When we understand how this scam works, we begin to see how the federal government has become a profligate. Here is the pending federal legislation, quote, to establish the Office of Sustainable Housing and Communities, to establish the Interagency Council on Sustainable Communities, to establish a comprehensive planning grant program, there goes your tax dollars, to establish a sustainability challenge grant program and for other purposes. It's to coordinate federal policies and initiatives that foster livable communities. Now, it's to stack them and pack them, no cars, that I was describing as smart growth or urban renewal. It is about encouraging sustainability at the state, regional, and local levels. Here's an intercepted, at least I ended up with it, email from an employee, presuming the planning department of Spokane Valley. In it he says, during deliberations on the SARP, that's a local project, we mentioned that new initiatives would likely be coming out of Washington in terms of federal funding for transportation and housing projects. I'm glad that money grows on trees. We are likely, he goes on to say at the conclusion, likely to see other federal initiatives that support livable, sustainable, and walkable communities, such as what is being described in the SARP. In particular, when the federal transportation bill is reauthorized in the next year and a half. Check out this press release that announces the interagency, we're talking about federal agencies now, partnership for sustainable communities. I mean, the federal government has taken control. This Senate Bill 1619, again, according to Scott Kuta, the AICP, which is American Institute of Certified Planners, a senior planner with the city of Spokane Valley, writes that it would also authorize the Federal Interagency Council on Sustainable Communities, which would include representatives from the Department of Housing and Urban Development, the Department of Transportation, the EPA, and other federal agencies to coordinate federal sustainable development policies. You see, your city people are directly coordinating with the federal agencies to impose this on you, and most people living here have no idea that this is going on. That needs to change, because I can't imagine that anybody other than those being paid to implement this have a philosophical or ideological support. This is not Democrat Party. It is not Republican Party. It is supported by both parties, ironically. That's why the people don't know about it, because there is a grand conspiracy to keep the information from us. What they're doing is not a conspiracy. They're robbing the bank. Conspiracy charges drop once you start robbing the bank. Now you're guilty of robbery, and that is what's happening. Now, a key point to recognize is that Agenda 21 Sustainable Development is a top-down, their words, global to local action plan. You as an individual or as part of a group can make a difference in your community once you recognize the tentacles of Agenda 21. The city of Spokane is much like Santa Cruz. Both are longtime members of ICLEI. The product outlined in the next 2 pages is, I suspect, a pure ICLEI initiative. Now, this is your City of Spokane city webpage. Here it talks about their mission, which is to protect and enhance Spokane's environment such that human health and economic development are sustainable. On the surface, you can't argue with that until you understand the meaning of the words. What do they mean by economic development? What do they mean by human health? And what do they mean by sustainable? When you go away tonight, you're going to have a much better idea of what sustainable is. You have in this county, don't have it right now, you have a 25-page document called the Sustainability Action Plan. Now, the action plan, in their words, is the culmination of a year's worth of work by the Mayor's Task Force on Sustainability. The plan includes strategies to address climate mitigation, climate adaptation, and energy security. It's carrying the fraud to the nth degree. This is the cover page for your mayor's document on the Sustainability Action Plan. I might tell you why the word action always appears in connection with sustainability. In Santa Cruz, they're pretty blatant about this stuff. Action is a euphemism. It stands for, the A is Agenda 21, and spelling out the word, it's Agenda 21, community teamwork in operation now. That's what action means. When you see action, know that it's a call to the activists, whether it be useful idiots or knowing tyrants who are coordinating your local sustainability program. The mayor of Spokane, whose name firmly stands behind this document, is given the information necessary to make this case guilty of treason. Now, to describe and define sustainable development, I want to illustrate a pattern represented by Sustainable Development's 3Es logo and its variants. This is the guiding construct for sustainable activists around the world. From a study of the 3Es, we are able to learn what sustainable development is and what it is we have to be leery of. The 3Es, as I mentioned earlier, are equity, economy, and environment. And they are often shown by three interconnected circles. Let's examine the 3Es of sustainable development, because one must begin to understand what they really mean and understand the pattern to which they are applied. The first E is equity. Equity means the use of sociology and the change in the law in order to re-engineer humanity. Think about that. Sociology, the religion of positivism brought to us by Auguste Comte in the early part of the 19th century, was the father of sociology. Way back then, he called for world government centered in Paris. The religion he founded, positivism, you find aspects of it all through the world today. Not called by those terms, but nonetheless, as the father of sociology and of the religion of positivism, you can see how sociology is being used to manage and monitor people in order to put us into this new world system. The law is changing from a system of equal justice as demanded under the Declaration of Independence into a system of social justice. You walk into courts today and you have judges proudly proclaiming their adherence to social justice principles.